Hello and welcome back to another video, and today we're answering a very important question. We're trying to get to the bottom of, are teachers actually going to go on strike or not? Now I'm going to make another video to talk about why teachers are thinking about going on strike, and we'll go into that one about whether it might be the right thing for you or the wrong thing for you, all that kind of stuff, and moral objections to striking and why people want to strike. All those reasons behind it are all going to be in the next video, so I will try and put a link to it up there somewhere, and if not, do go look at my recent videos. They'll be coming out around the same time as this one. But this video is just about, are teachers actually going to do it or not? And if they are, when might it happen? Because we need to look into it and kind of look at it from an objective point of view. So taking your emotions out of it, taking whether you think it's right or wrong out of it, and just say, what is actually going on? So at the minute, we are all in a cost of living crisis. We know that. Everything is being a bit hard work. The cost of living is going up dramatically. Energy bills are shooting up. Mortgages are going up. Pensions are going down. Everything is just looking a bit bleak at the minute. And the reason lots and lots of strikes are going on is because people are not getting the pay that they feel they deserve. So at the minute, the Royal Mail are having a lot of strikes. There's port workers, I think it's in Liverpool, in one of the biggest ports in the country, are going on strike. And that is all because they are not getting pay rises that are in line with inflation. So inflation is how quickly the cost of everything goes up. So gradually over time, things do get more expensive, but pay normally goes up with that. So generally inflation should be about 2%. So everything should get about 2% more expensive each year, but then you'll start earning more the next year as well. However, at the minute, inflation is somewhere hovering around the 9 or 10% bracket. There's a lot of things that are going up in price really, really quickly, and people's pay is not matching that. People's pay is not going up that much. And so recently, at the end, in fact, it was in the very last week of the last term, before we finished for the summer holidays, the government announced the pay increases for the next academic year. And again, I'll try and link a video up there. I did talk about all those increases, but those increases were somewhere from around 5 to 8%. Now, in terms of my teaching career, that was one of the biggest pay rises we've been given. That was the amount we were given for the next school year. And obviously you can see whether or not that is in line with inflation. So that was when the NEU started saying they're going to think about some strike action. Now, like I said, we will get into the reasons why they called for that strike action in the next video, but we're going to look at where have we got to now. We're coming to the end of September. In fact, today is the last day of September that I'm filming this. So we're officially, we're in autumn. You can probably hear the rain. It's a pretty horrible day. And we're going to say, look, what's coming up over the coming winter in terms of striking? Are we going on strike? Are we not? So I have got my laptop with me. I will be putting some screenshots on the screen of the things that I'm going to talk you through. And we're going to say, look, what is actually going on? What are we going to do? What's going to happen next? At the minute, we are just about halfway through, or just before halfway through, the kind of preemptive ballot before the official strike action. So this is where the NEU and all of its members, I think it's the biggest kind of teaching union across the country, the NEU, the National Education Union, is asking all of its members, do you think you want to strike? Now, this isn't an actual strike ballot, and if people do say yes, or the majority of people do say yes compared to saying no, that doesn't mean we're definitely going to have a strike. This is just for them to get a bit of an idea of whether or not people actually want this. Because if they do this kind of little question and loads and loads of people say no, then obviously they're not going to pursue further. And they always say, and you can see on the screenshot on the screen, they say that strike action is not the first thing they want to do. And so they're asking this to get an idea, but while they're asking this, they also continue talking to the government, trying to make sure that they're pushing for what they want. So they're not necessarily going to go on strike right now. That's not something that has been decided at all. But by the 14th of October, that is when the ballot ends. So if you are part of the NEU, do make sure you go and put your views on. And like I said at the start, this isn't me saying we should be or shouldn't be on strike. We're not going into the reasons why. We're just looking at this from a purely factual point of view on what is actually going on. So if you do want to let your voice be heard and let your opinions be known, if you're in the NEU, go and reply to their ballot. And by the 14th of October, let them know whether or not you are prepared to strike. And once they've got that information, I'm sure they'll probably release the results of that ballot, especially I would imagine if they are overwhelmingly one side or the other. Then they will then talk to us and they'll let us know, okay, there's going to be an actual ballot. So there'll be an actual official striking ballot on whether or not you really do want to strike. And that's where you have to say yes or no officially. Are you going to strike or not? That will be the kind of the bigger test, because I think a lot of people, and this is the same with online surveys and all sorts, when it's just a bit of an online survey, lots of people might say one thing even though they don't necessarily think it. So while this result is important, and especially like we said, if it's overwhelmingly in favour of either striking or not striking, it will be a pretty clear decision. I don't think that the results of that ballot will be the results of the actual one when they come to doing it. So it'll be important to have a look at it, but not take everything to be exactly what it's true. By the 14th of October, we should know kind of, okay, what are the next steps going to be, or maybe a few days after that. Now, the previous Education Secretary, Nadeem Zahawi, he was only in the post for a little while, but he did come out and say that he does not think teachers should be striking. This was in the previous government before Boris Johnson had officially resigned and all the stuff was going on over summer. But he came out and said it would be unforgivable and a bunch of other stuff about whether or not he thinks teachers should be striking. And there is prior history to this. In 2016, there was a teacher strike as well, where lots of teachers came out. And again, the government obviously didn't support that strike. The same way the government doesn't support any strikes. But I think it's important to remember that teachers are fighting for something that, the Royal Mail postal workers are fighting for, people in the ports in Liverpool are fighting for, and I think, we've seen train drivers across the country striking multiple times over the summer. There's lots and lots of this stuff going on, so it's not just something that is just subject to teachers. It's not just teachers that are struggling with this. It's important to remember that this is something that's going on across the entire country, and at the minute we're going to find out whether or not teachers are going to be joining that too. Now, while we're talking about this, I would be interested to hear your views. I'd love to hear in the comments, do you or do you not think teachers should be striking? And again, there's something that I'm not interested in debating or changing anyone's mind. I just want to hear other people's opinions, and I'd love to especially hear the reasons why or why not. If you don't think they should be, then please let me know. And if you think they should be, then again, please let me know. Because I think it's really important to understand everybody's point of view and not just kind of live in your own little bubble and just have your ideas relevant. So hopefully you can let me know what your views are, and we'll see what the overarching themes of this video and the people that watch this video are, and whether or not they're more in favour of one or the other. Now, looking forward to see what do we think the results will be. I personally think that this initial ballot will say pretty much overwhelmingly that there should be a strike, and that they do support strike action. And that's partly based on what I hear from other teachers and from what I hear of people that I talk to just generally in life. But it's also based on other previous unions and other people that have already taken part in surveys. So there was a union by, I call them the NASUT, N-A-S, I think it's UWT. They did a survey about the teachers' pay award when it was given out. And I think this was to over 8,000 different teachers that are part of their union. And that came out pretty much, I think it was 75% in favour of strike action, as in against the teachers' pay award. They didn't agree with it. They thought it wasn't fair. And so therefore they were leaning more towards strike action. And 75% in favour of it, that's a pretty huge percentage. So I think by the middle of October, once this is done, that's going to be a similar kind of figure that we're going to see in this initial ballot. And that'll then lead to the NEU then calling for an actual ballot on actual strike action, and kind of the official one. And again, whether or not that then leads to strikes, I don't know, because I've not been a teacher long enough to have remembered the 2016 strike action from a teacher's point of view. I was in university then, so I wasn't affected by the strike action in terms of in schools, but it's something that I'm intrigued to see what's going to happen next, and hopefully the right thing will happen for everybody. And like I say, I want to hear your views whether or not you think the striking is the right thing, but I'm trying to look at this from kind of a outsider's point of view and just looking at the facts today. I do think that is what is coming, and whether or not it turns to strike action we will see in probably, I'd say, early next year, because I think if this ballot is taking 3 weeks and this one is kind of the email one online, if there's an actual ballot and that's going to be like postal votes, that kind of thing, I guess, then that's going to take even longer to organise. So I do think we're a few months away from any kind of strike that could potentially happen yet. But I think it could be something that is kind of on the way potentially in the future. If you're wanting to look more into the actual effects of what might happen if there is a strike, then there is a whole government document by the Department for Education, which I think was published in 2016, which is all about how to handle the effects of a strike on a school, and how to look at, is it possible to keep the school open, and the different impacts there might be on kind of pay, on getting school meals in, on just what you can and can't do, and all sorts of things. Now, I've not read the whole document because it's not something that I am particularly interested in reading currently, because I'm more just kind of sat and waiting to see what is going to happen with this initial ballot, and then whether or not people choose to strike. And there's all sorts of things where we're waiting to see what might happen before we get to that point. But if you are interested in looking a bit more, then do have a look. I will put a screenshot up on the screen for you, so you can have a look into it and hopefully find out a little bit more information if you're looking for. And like I said, there will be another video coming out very soon on the reasons why teachers are striking, and getting into a bit more of like the reasons behind everything, what is going on, what's led to this point, what is coming up in the future in terms of why teachers might be striking or even thinking about it. So hopefully this has been a bit useful for you guys, and hope it's opened up your eyes a little bit. And as I said, hopefully there'll be lots and lots of comments down below of different points of view, and hopefully people can kind of get a bit more of a standing on both sides of the argument, because obviously some people feel very strongly for strikes, some people feel very strongly against striking, and it's always an interesting discussion to be had with different people. So thank you very much for watching this. As always, a new video on a Tuesday, a Friday and a Sunday, and hopefully I'll see you all very soon.